So thank you, Omar, for that introduction, and to all of you at COP27 for championing climate action across the globe. What I want to spend a little bit of time on today is just talking about how to build resilience through technology and the digital transformation of net zero, and really centering on the indelible role of technology in promoting decarbonization, which is what we're all about at Sustain.Life. I do want to thank our partner, the Egyptian Carbon Center, and applaud their commitment to delivering incredible sustainable solutions and carbon management and beyond to Egyptian businesses. We are truly honored at Sustain.Life to call them a partner. So just a little bit about Sustain.Life. We're a technology platform that helps future-proof businesses by taking climate action. And we help businesses make decisions with the environment in mind. And as Omar mentioned briefly, our platform orients on the pillars of measure, manage, and report. And we help businesses do that on their environmental impact with a very deep focus on carbon management. As Chief Sustainability Officer at Sustain.Life, I'm responsible for all of the decarbonization tools, the emissions calculations, sustainability program actions, as well as ESG disclosures that are all embedded within our technology platform. And I am absolutely honored to speak with you today alongside the leaders at the Egyptian Carbon Center and the other organizations on this session at this incredible COP27. I am so sorry I could not fly across the globe to be with you all today, but it is really an honor to speak with you here. Just a little bit on my background, it's corporate sustainability, and I'm in front of you today because much like all of us at Sustain, I have a deep passion for translating the expertise and experience of sustainability and climate action professionals into technology, which can really scale and leverage that expertise to all the businesses who are looking for it today. And now I want to ground this conversation on a premise in where we are in the evolution of decarbonization. And the premise is that we're at this really critical inflection point, one in which we've gone from an area of just risk and risk mitigation to one of opportunity capture. And now I didn't create this notion, it's not my idea, but it is something that we see in the real world. It's a fact. We're seeing this in some of the climate change disclosure frameworks like the TCFD, which overlays its entire principles and 4 thematic pillars over the idea of risks and opportunities for businesses. We're seeing this in a bunch of current legislation all over the world. We have something like in the United States, the Inflation Reduction Act. We have in the EU a whole series of laws under the green taxonomy. Most recently, just yesterday, the CSRD was voted into adoption. But these legislations, they use the idea of incentive and opportunity capture rather than risk and mitigation and penalties. We're also seeing this across global economies where investors of capital and capital markets are assessing and pricing in the material impact of climate-related risks and opportunities on the long-term value and growth of a business. And now this premise is so critically important because when you transition from a lens of just risk mitigation to one of opportunity capture, you unlock so much business value and economic incentive because the risks, the fines and the losses for non-compliance, they're only so much. And let's be honest, they don't apply uniformly across the globe. But the opportunities, especially around climate, around growth, around resilience, and the ultimate long-term value of business, that's everything. So whether you're in a developing economy that doesn't have as much regulation in space, or you're in a developed market that has a lot of this regulation and policy, we're at this really critical juncture in sustainability that we've all been waiting for as climate activists, where you can finally tie sustainability performance and climate action to the economic and financial returns of a business. And so just to spend a little time talking about these risks and opportunities, this conversation has really fundamentally changed for business. On the risk side, we are often talking about the risk of noncompliance for regulation, which are playing a more critical role today, more than ever. But let's be honest, it's somewhat still of a drop in the bucket compared to the other risks that we think about. And that includes things like degraded brand reputation and abandonment of your customers, and public appeal, especially in international markets. Risk for attracting new investment as allocators of capital increasingly have their own climate and sustainability ESG goals and requirements for who they invest in. And then, of course, the inability to attract and retain top talent and employees. There's this incredible statistic by 2029, millennials and Gen Z, who we know care more about climate because it is their globe that they will be inheriting, will make up 72% of the workforce. And now that's a US statistic, but it's certainly fair to say it's representative of global trends. And so if we look at the opportunity side, climate resilience is quickly becoming a leading indicator of long-term value. This is no longer a nice to have. With increasing pressure from regulators and investors, employees, the public, and just market conditions, you literally won't be able to stay in business in 5 to 10 years if this isn't an integral part of your business strategy. Major governments of the world, they won't buy from you. The US just announced that all federal suppliers or large suppliers are going to have to report their scope 1 and 2 emissions, or literally the government won't buy for you. Fortune 500 companies, they won't buy from you, and your end-use customers won't buy for you. And so regardless of where you as a business are in your own decarbonization journey, technology has the power to accelerate and transition your business from that perspective of risk mitigation to take advantage of all of that opportunity capture. And so it can really impact how you grow, how you thrive, how you take over market share, because what it's really all about, in addition to climate change and the health of our planet, from the business perspective, this is about competitively positioning yourself against future conditions. And there are no future conditions more paramount than climate change. And I'm sure the room can agree on that. And so we understand, right? Climate action and decarbonization is critical to the long-term value and resilience of a business. And yet companies don't know where to start. So of the over 700 companies that have set net zero targets, 2/3 of them have no plan on how to actually get there and achieve those targets. And that's what we're all doing at COP, right? We have our government representatives and leaders over in the blue zone, not just making pledges, because we did that last year, but providing actionable plans to report on progress and detail the realistic mechanisms of how they're going to achieve these goals. And that's now percolating down into the business environment. It's becoming business critical to really understand and manage your carbon footprint. And so, of course, that is what we have built at Sustain.Life. That is what we help companies do. And so we're seeing now this digital transformation of decarbonization. When we look at things like human capital, your consultants, your in-house teams, they are so crucial when it comes to strategy and navigating complex problems that are unique to your business. But when it comes to measurement and all of that underlying data that feeds into these emissions calculations, that is where technology is the clear choice to preserve your human capital. So whether, again, you're just starting out with your initial emissions inventory baseline, or you already have a net zero target and you're looking to track and monitor progress over time, this is quite literally what technology is made for. Translating your business activities into carbon impact, setting science-based targets, tracking progress, modeling decarbonization, forecasting future performance, all of that primed for technology. And so, of course, Sustain.Life, this is what we do. We help businesses as they launch sustainability programs and build towards ambitious goals like net zero. Our carbon management engine translates all of the transactional level business activity and data, everything from the energy you consume and the waste you generate to the goods and services that you purchase and acquire, all to their emissions impact for complete and robust scope 1, 2, and 3 inventories. So now these are just a couple of screenshots, but I want to speak directly to the businesses in the room. We know that scope 1 and 2 emissions are critical, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. By providing these insights to businesses on their energy related emissions, things like carbon intensity by fuel source, ranked locations, indication of comparative business operations. This is how businesses can actually understand how their energy consumption and procurement behaviors impact their carbon footprint. And before we dive into scope 3, I do want to take a moment to talk about measuring impact of events and conferences just like this one. So we're going to hear from Ahmed in a little bit about the ECC's Cross Egypt Challenge and how they measured the carbon impact of all those activities so that they can make it a carbon neutral event with offsets. And we've developed a suite of calculators at Sustain.Life that supports that and can track everything from the travel behaviors of your attendees and their accommodations to energy consumption in a venue, to the food and beverage that you serve, the swag that you purchase, all of those ancillary supporting decisions that you make as an event organizer, so that while you work on more meaningful reduction, you can neutralize the emissions of that event through carbon offsets. And these are literally the kinds of tools that businesses need to adopt carbon literacy and really integrate carbon management into business planning at scale. Now, it wouldn't be a conversation at COP without diving into scope 3 emissions. We know that these are so hard to wrangle and manage, but imagine being able to connect your accounting system or your ERP into a carbon engine that could translate all of your business level transactions, everything you purchase, to deliver emissions hotspots. So you can understand who are your top emitting vendors, who are your top emitting purchasing categories, to drive and direct more meaningful engagement through your supply chain and achieve those scope 3 reductions. And of course, we also have to talk about science-based targets, because we can't be at COP without talking about that either. So really grounding your emissions reduction strategy in science with SBT-aligned near-term and long-term goals, including net zero. So you can understand how you can set goals according to a 1.5-degree pathway, well below 2-degree pathway, and what your incremental progress is towards those goals as your business continues to operate. This is truly the new normal for business operation. And for those that are seeking verification or assurance for public disclosure, which happens in regulated markets, but traditionally has been happening voluntarily in investor-driven markets, a single dashboard that automatically connects to your emissions inventory and allows your verifier to review the calculation methodology, the data sources, the emission factors, the global warming potential, all those nitty-gritty details that are serving up those carbon numbers. And this drastically reduces the time and the cost and the effort of assurance and third-party verification for businesses. And so all of this to say, and I know I need to wrap up and give our other incredible speakers some time, that in addition to our moral and physical imperative to fight climate change, I want to invite all of the businesses and the business community in the room to also frame this as a conversation in how you future-proof your business and best position yourself for long-term resilience. So thank you all so much. It has been a true honor to speak with you, and I will pass it off to our next incredible speaker.